Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cock Council. I hope you're all on a fantastic day. If you are, then please let me know in the comment section down below. Sorry, guys, that I've been off a few days. This cold has absolutely got me on the ropes. I think Tyson Fury has been whacking me about with a cold and chest infection. So, yeah, it's horrible around this time. But I also want to say a very Merry Christmas to all of you watching as well. Obviously, Christmas is tomorrow. So I hope you all get the presents that you are hoping for. As you can see, this is the Leicester City match preview, and I have a very special guest on the line. LCFC Bayer, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm great, mate. I'm relaxed now, ready for Christmas, but it's not. Well, we've got obviously the Boxing Day fixture, which isn't at the ideal time, but I'm not going to let that dampen my moods.
Yeah. Oh no, exactly, mate. It's a festive time and a very cheerful time as well. If you didn't know, guys, I think kickoff tomorrow is not tomorrow. Sorry, on Boxing Day is 8:15. I could be wrong on
That's
that.
8 o'clock, which is just a bit of a ball ache.
Yeah, it is a bit late. Oh well, that's Amazon time for you because obviously Amazon Prime have tomorrow, well, Boxing Day's game. But yeah, we're going to be talking a lot more about this game as well. Get in depth. Well, this is probably a big title decider in where Liverpool are going to be Leicester. But yeah, we're going to get into it a lot more. If you are new around here, then please hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel. And remember to put notifications on. And if you also want to go and subscribe to Bayer, all his links will be in the video description down below. So, Bayer, you are second right now after, and a very impressive start, then you could say, to the Premier League. Obviously, last game you lost to Manchester City. What was your overall thoughts after that loss to Manchester City?
You're always disappointed when you lose, but it's one of those two. I was saying this before. There's two games you sort of highlight at the start of the season that are going to be your hardest games of the season, and that's going to Manchester City at the Etihad and going to you guys at the Anfield. So
Yeah.
I was disappointed, but it's one of those. We're in such a good position. We've had such a good start to the season. I don't want to let one result sort of knock how well we're doing and lose perspective on how good a season we're having.
Yeah, exactly. I think that, I've been very impressed by Leicester. I know we've talked in the past, and, I'm a huge fan of James Maddison. And, like you said, the games you look out for are probably Liverpool away and Man City away. Was you happy at all with the performance to Manchester City, or was you a bit frustrated that Leicester didn't play their game?
It was frustrating that we didn't play our game. And it was more not that we didn't play it, but we didn't even attempt to play our normal game. Like, the thing is, I would have been a lot happier if we'd gone there, got torn apart, attempting to play our high pressing, high tempo, quick paced football game. But we didn't even attempt that. We just sat deep and tried to hit them on the counter, almost of like the old Leicester that won the league.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, obviously we were watching the Club World Cup final, but I watched the extended highlights, and I feel like at the beginning, Leicester tried to do what Liverpool did against Man City at Anfield, where it was just deep defending and then quick counter attacks, and I feel like that worked for you, uh, you know, for a big period of the first half, because obviously you went ahead in that game, last week, and do you think that Leicester will try, it different against Liverpool, or do you think that, they'll try and, play their own
Well,
type of football because you're at home?
at home, we're unbeaten in 8 months. Like, since Brendan Rodgers has come in, we've only
Yeah,
lost one game. So I think we'll fully try and take the game to you at King Power. So there's no reason to fear you and be obviously you've got to be cautious and stuff, but how good a team you are. But there's no reason to fear you in terms of the level of not trying to take the game to you. Because if we sit back, it's just going to invite the pressure and make the game easier for you. So I think for
yeah.
us, we've got to go and make the game harder for you by getting in your faces, trying to rattle you up a bit and trying to play our game.
Yeah, exactly. For me, I think that, our toughest game was probably against you in the league so far. Like, I know many people in the comment section will say, Man City and all like this, but I feel like, it was so close, obviously, at the game. And oh, go on.
It was a fortunate penalty at the end, weren't it? Really, it was the only reason you took the point. So it was one of those, like, on any other day that would have ended as a draw, but Albrighton and Schmeichel had a bit of miscommunication. Yeah. Any other day that game ends a draw.
Yeah, I feel like though, in that game, I feel like we dominated, quite a big period, and then maybe the last 15 minutes or 20 minutes, you started to show why how talented your team actually is. And the one question I want to ask you then, who do you think is probably going to be our biggest threat to come against? Do you think Maddison, or do you think it'll be Jamie Vardy? Because for me, both of them are on absolutely fire right now.
This is going to sound like a strange one. Ricardo Pereira. He the space. It might not necessarily be him, the one who gets the goal or the assist, but him going forward and stuff, the space he creates for the other players goes very much unnoticed. And I'd say if Ricardo Pereira has a quiet game, then you're doing well with that. But then also you've got the threats of Maddison, obviously in the middle, creating space. Tielemans, potentially Prayer, very underrated player in my opinion, and Barnes. Yeah. So it's not just it's not like before when you had to keep Mahrez quiet and then you were sort of sorted against us. Now we've got threats sort of all over the pitch.
Yeah, it's, to be fair, it's very impressive how many exceptional young talent you actually have. Because I know Liverpool were interested in James Maddison, and then obviously I think he had a slight knee injury which Liverpool didn't go through, and you just went, oh, we'll just go and get him. And ever since you did, he's been brilliant for you. And for you then, who do you think is our biggest threat then, from viewing your point of view?
Firmino, hands down. Hands down, Firmino. He may not be the one who scores a goal, but it's very similar to Pereira. He'll be the one who probably creates it or makes the space for it, or he will probably have a role into the lead up of it. Because you've seen it a few times this year in the Champions League. Firmino hasn't started, and you guys have struggled a bit until you brought him on in the second half.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember the Super Cup final when we played, I think it was Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain on the right wing, and then we played, I think, Salah in the middle, and it just didn't work. And then as soon as we brought Firmino on, Liverpool just clicked, and been clicking. Go on.
It's because Firmino, it's not just his link-up play, but he sort of brings you upfield about another 10, 15 yards by pressing from the front and having the work ethic that he does. I think he's a brilliant footballer.
Yeah, honestly, mate, I think that, to be honest with you, out of them all, if anyone said, I don't want to sell any of them because, the front three are the front three, but if you had to say which one would you keep most out of all of them, it would be Bobby Firmino, because I think he brings so much to this football club. And, it's a missing, you can tell someone's missing when Bobby Firmino doesn't play or even start. So, I would agree with that. But, yeah, I think, obviously, a lot of Premier League teams have average fullbacks. And I think in this game, you probably have the best fullbacks playing against each other. Obviously, Boxing Day. Obviously, you've got Chidwell and Pereira. We've got Trent and Robbo. We've had this conversation before where, I think that Trent and Robbo are the best fullbacks. Is your opinion still the same as it was before?
My opinion's Robertson's much better than, well, not much better, but he is better than Chilwell. But I will still always say that I think Pereira is better than Trent, because, hear me out on this, but Pereira, he can take a man on. His passing ability, his link-up play is unrivaled by any right back in the Premier League, and defensively, he's a lot better than Trent is. He's a much more well-rounded right back than Trent. I think the thing that Trent's got over Pereira is that ability to put that final ball into the box, because I think his crossing ability is very good.
Yeah, I think that, I think the one thing for me, I think personally, I think Trent is a bit better than Pereira. I only think that because, like you said, attacking wise, I do think that both of them are like the best right backs. People say Cal Walker and all like that. For me, it's a no. I think Cal Walker is miles behind the likes of Trent and Pereira.
I think he's dropped off a bit over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think that well, maybe when City had that 100-point season, I think that maybe he was average at best throughout the season, and I think Trent and Pereira now are very, very good fullbacks. But for me, I would personally give it to Trent Alexander-Arnold. Probably a bit biased there, but I know you think that Pereira is probably the better right back. Obviously. I watched your Man City vlog, and I saw that Chidwell was struggling quite a lot with Riyad Mahrez. Do you think that Chidwell could struggle with the likes of Sadio Mane or Mo Salah?
Potentially, but at the same time, I said it in my match review that I did on 100% LCFC, but I feel like Mahrez, because he trained with Chilwell for 3-4 years, he just sort of knew every step that Chilwell was going to take and just seemed to have his number completely right from the first whistle. So it's one of those that Chilwell's been solid this year, but every player's going to have a bad game throughout the course of the season, and I feel like that was his.
Yeah, I think that I like Chidwell. We had the conversation ages ago about key Leicester players getting, rumoured away. Like, I know recent rumours have Chilwell going to Chelsea and all like that. And I'm like, why would he want to go to Chelsea? Because, he's challenging for a league title right now. And, for me, anyway, this is a possible title decider. Because, I think if maybe you win this game, I think you are firmly in the race. And to be honest with you, even though Man City did beat you that day, I do think they are still out of the title race, even though they are a point behind you. But I do still think that, mentally, I think Leicester are our competitors then for this Premier League title. Do you have that mindset as well?
Not really, to be honest. I think that at the start of the season, if you said to any Leicester fan, we can be second by Christmas Day, anyone would have snatched your hand off. At the start of the season, what was sort of laid out by Brendan Rodgers as our aim was to break into that top six, and we've done that very well. So to even be in the position of a conversation of a title race is just beyond the expectations of what we had.
Yeah, I know. I can agree with you with that, to be fair, in your opinion. So then talking more on the game and more like starting 11 then, what team do you expect Leicester to field out against Liverpool on Boxing Day?
Do you want me to go through the full starting 11, what you think?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so in goal and captain, it will probably be Schmeichel. He saved us against Man City quite a few times. If it weren't for him, it could have been a lot worse. And then left back, as we were saying, Chilwell, with right back of Ricardo Pereira, who will both bomb forward and hopefully create chances for you, putting the pressure on your guys' defence and midfield. Then as for two centre backs, we're going to have Johnny Evans and Siunchu. Then heading into the midfield, one defensive midfielder of Ndidi. Then in front of Ndidi, we'll have Maddison and potentially Tielemans. It might be Prayet, depending on how Tielemans is. He looked quite leggy against Man City. So I personally would go for Prayet, but I have a feeling Tielemans will play. And they'll sort of get forward, create chances, knowing that they've got that protection of Ndidi behind them, trying to feed Vardy, and then feed Barnes on the left, who may play on the left-hand side, but he limped off against Man City. So if it's not Barnes, it will probably be Gray. And then on the right-hand side, we will have Ayoze Perez.
That sounds like a very good team, to be fair, mate. For me, looking at that like Leicester team, that like front, four, then you could say, with like Vardy, Perez, Maddison, and Barnes as well. I think that's a very threatening attack. And for me, I think that Liverpool will probably go a bit defensive in midfield, because I think that midfield balance the midfield overall is going to be crucial, and whoever wins that battle, I think, will end up winning the game in 2 days' time on Boxing Day. But I think what Liverpool are going to do is, well, what I think their starting 11 prediction is going to be is Alisson in goal. I think Trent Alexander-Arnold will play. That partnership is getting better between Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk by the week. I think now they've kept, 4 clean sheets in 5 games. So, that partnership is actually getting better. And then obviously Andy Robbo as well. I do think then possibly you could see the midfield of James Milner, Jordan Henderson and Gini Wijnaldum. Gini's a bit iffy. Obviously he strained, I think it was his hamstring against Norwich last week. But yeah, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain actually is out with ankle ligament damage, which means he could be out for a month or 6 weeks. So that's not very good news for Liverpool. Ox has been brilliant since coming back into the Liverpool team. But then I think, plain and simple, it's the front three. You've got to play the front three against Leicester, against your title rivals. And, I think that the key man for me anyway is going to be Sadio Mane and Bobby Firmino. I think if them two can link up again like they did in the Club World Cup, I think, me personally, I think Liverpool are going to win. What scoreline prediction are you predicting for Boxing Day, mate?
2-1 to Leicester. We've been so strong at home, it's hard to sort of predict against us without trying to sound arrogant and stuff, because I know you guys are coming into it as favourites. But I just think that we're so strong at home, and the way that we take the game to people when we're at home, I think you guys might struggle. And sort of, because I've seen a lot of teams that have played against you this year, and a lot of the time it's been them sitting back and not really having a go against you. I think you guys might struggle if we have a proper go at you.
Yeah, I think maybe the first, for you, I think might be the best time is maybe like the first 15 minutes, because Liverpool have been, they've been very, very slow at the start of games this season. I've been really frustrated at that. But, I think if you were to, get us on the break, early on, then I think then we might be in trouble. But me personally, I'm going to go for, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Liverpool. I think it's going to be a very, very tight game. And I think that, like the game at Anfield, it's going to maybe come down to a last-minute goal, to get that win. But, also as well, I wanted to say to you, obviously, we've talked about this before when we've been talking. I also want to talk about Seonchu. I think I've said that right. Hopefully I've said that right. And, I want to talk on how impressive he has been. Obviously, you sold Harry Maguire to Manchester United, and now he's become obviously the world record defender, as Price, beating Virgil van Dijk. Yeah, I know you're very laughable with it. Do you think that, Seonchu then will be like a big threat in both boxes then?
He's scored a few goals this year from corners, but obviously in our own box, we've got the best defensive record in the league, which speaks for itself of how well he's defended. Because when you sell the most defensive defender in the world, not the best, I must add to that, most expensive, you're always going to struggle and have big feet to fill. And he's filled them absolutely brilliantly. And since he's gone, I think our defence has actually improved under Seonchu, because Seonchu's a lot quicker than Harry Maguire. I think Seonchu's recorded the quickest sprint speed out of any player in the Premier League so far this season. So that sort of that accompanies Johnny Evans quite nicely, because before we used to get done by pace quite a bit, but this year I can't think of one time where pace has actually tore us apart. And then this as well, I think with Maguire, he's well known for going into the midfield and then playing the pass. But for me, Seonchu plays the pass before going into midfield, so he sort of speeds up the play. So for me, he's a much better player, and he's only 23.
Yeah, it's incredible. Business then from Leicester. You obviously sold Mahrez to Man City for, I think it was like 60 million. I think it was 65 million. And, you sold Maguire for a world record transfer fee. And, I look at Harry Maguire and I'm like, you couldn't even lace up Dejan Lovren's shoes in a Man United shirt. And a few people. Go on.
I said it last year. Maguire was made to look a lot better than he was by having Ndidi in front of him, protecting him a lot of the time, and such an underrated and experienced centre back in Johnny Evans, who also covered for him. Like, I'm not going to slag Maguire off and say he's a bad defender by any means, but he wasn't our best centre back last year, and he's being exposed by it this year by having bang average players around him.
Yeah, I just look at it and you look at price tags, for example, and you look at Harry Maguire and Virgil van Dijk. For me, Virgil van Dijk is the best defender in the world. I think that's pretty much everyone can say that now because obviously through the Ballon d'Or, and I think Virgil van Dijk was unlucky not to win the Ballon d'Or. And I look at Maguire now, and he's saying that I was reading somewhere that he said, "Don't judge me now, judge me in like 5 years," and it's like, why? Like, apparently you were the rock solid, player at Leicester, and like you rightfully said, then it wasn't him that was good; it was Ndidi. I think that if you took Fabinho out of our midfield, and Virgil van Dijk for me is a level up on Maguire. I don't know if you feel the same like that.
It's hard to say because as good as Van Dijk is, and I'm not disputing in any fact Van Dijk's incredible, when he was playing at Southampton with a pretty average team around him, he was getting exposed a lot. So it would be not interesting to see sort of how Maguire would get on in an elite team. But I don't think he is on Van Dijk's level, but it would be interesting to see how he could get on with the same tools around him.
Yeah, I kind of can see what you mean by that, but like you said, I don't think Maguire's on Van Dijk's level, and it's gonna be very, very interesting to see what happens on Boxing Day. Obviously, as well, before we go as well, I want to talk to you about Jamie Vardy. Obviously, he's been having an absolutely brilliant season for you guys. I think now he's on 17 league goals this season, which is unbelievable. For me, I think that our best player is, so far this season in the Premier League has been Sadio Mane. Do you think that them two are going to be, the goal-scoring threats then for both teams?
Well, there are always two threats, but for both teams, you can't just pinpoint one player because, as I said earlier on, there's so many players across the pitch that could hurt you. From us, you could see Johnny Evans popping up with a header, Siunchu popping up with a header as they have done so far this season, or Lovren or Van Dijk, depending on whoever plays for you guys. So it's one of those. Yes, they're our main threats, but they're not our only threats.
Yeah, to be fair, I can see what you mean by that. So that's going to be it now for the match reaction. Sorry, the match preview for the Leicester City game on Boxing Day. Anything else you want to add, Bayer?
If you guys could check out my channel, it would be massively appreciated. I've just reached 2K literally on the 23rd, so a nice early Christmas present for me. But the grind's not going to stop, and content's going to keep coming. Home and away Leicester vlogs with previews and all of that kind of stuff. So if you could check it out, it would be massively appreciated.
Yeah, guys, go and check out Bayer. All his links will be in the description. His Twitter, his YouTube. Go down in the video description down below and make sure to give him a subscribe. And also, congratulations on 2K, mate. I know that you put in a lot of time and effort into your channel. So congratulations on 2K. If you guys are new to this channel, then please do like, share, and subscribe this video. Obviously, we do match reactions, we do match previews like this one, and we do other stuff like that. And hopefully, you guys are liking the content and all like that. But like I said, guys, this is the end of the Leicester City preview. Thank you all for watching. I've been Connor from the Cop Council. He's been Bayer, and we'll see you all in a bit. Ta-ra.